Joining me now, 3 of Bergdahl's former platoon mates, Cody Full, Josh Cornelison, and Evan Buetow, who was actually the team leader at the time. Good to see you all again, guys. Thank you for being back with me. Evan, let me start with you, because you tweeted out in the beginning of this year, things I want in 2015. You offered one word, closure. Did you get it?
Yes. I mean, I've taken a giant step towards that closure. For 5 years, we've kind of lived with just the unknown. And then when they had the Rose Garden ceremony last year, we took a small step forward. Granted, what was being said was completely untrue, and we came forward to let people know what really happened. And after this last year and the investigation, it's culminated into a very giant step forward in for me personally, getting the closure that I need.
Cody, I know the Rose Garden ceremony played a big part for you, too, in your decision to speak out. Explain that.
Yeah, you know, if they would have brought him back, we got our American soldier back, and they had released a statement or a memo saying, hey, we got him back. There's some circumstances that are surrounding him. We're going to investigate them. That would have been great. You know, we got him back. He's going to see justice. But instead, they parade his parents out in a Rose Garden ceremony, and you have cabinet members come out and say he served with honor and distinction, basically calling him a hero, when they knew that wasn't true, and the facts have been the same for 5 years. But yet you have soldiers that are missing limbs or paid the ultimate price over there, and they don't get a Rose Garden ceremony. They served honorably. All they get is an AutoCAD letter 3 or 4 months later.
What do you think should happen to him, Josh?
You know, I think he should be prosecuted to the full extent that UCMJ will allow. So if that's, you know, maximum life in prison, then that needs to happen. I don't think that he needs to, you know, get all the benefits, all the rewards that anybody else that honorably served would. What about
that, though? Because the New York Times had a piece today suggesting that one of the questions here is whether the Army will give him an honorable discharge, talking about how if you don't get one, it can hinder a veteran's job prospects and weigh on the entirety of how a service member looks back on his career. To the New York Times, you say what, Josh?
I think that if Bo Bergdahl, after all this is finished, and he gets an honorable discharge, I think it's more than a slap in the face. I think it's an absolute spit in the face of every single service member, whether it's Marines, United States Army, Navy, Coast Guard, whatever it is. I think that all of those people that have gotten out do have an honorable discharge and did their time, and it was honorable. I think that if Bo Bergdahl gets out with an honorable discharge, it's an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute slap in the face of everybody in the history of the United States military that has served honorably with respect to everybody around them, and to and that kept their oath that they're not going to leave their battle buddies in a time of need.
Evan, I know you say you don't want a plea. You don't want to see him plead. Why?
I wanted to go to a trial because I believe if he pleads, we won't ever get to hear from him what happened. And it's just another, I guess it's selfish of me, but I want to hear it from him of why he did what he did. I want to know, and I know that everyone who is involved in the situation wants to know. It's something that we have lived with for so long, and I think for the American people, they need to hear from him what he was thinking, what was going through his head. He needs to have the chance to you know, whether he wants to defend himself or whether he wants to tell the truth of what really happened. Is there anything he could say that would soften you on the matter? There's nothing he could say that would soften me on the matter. I'm not out to get him. I don't have any vendetta against him. I believe that he did something wrong and he needs to answer for what he did. But that's for the military justice side. They'll work on that. But other than that, I kind of want to know why, and I think everyone wants to know why.
Yeah, that's what you were asking last year when we met, that you all wanted to know why.
Yeah.
And you, Cody, said that clip. We've played it so many times since then. You know, I don't know how he felt about us, but we would have died for him. I would have died for him, you said. And we're struggling to figure out why he walked away. When you hear now the stories that he was tortured and what the enemy did to him, and those who say he deserves some mercy because of it, what do you say?
There's consequences for your actions. You know, I feel bad and compassionate as a human being that happened to another American, but at the same time, if you wouldn't have deserted and turned your back on your fellow American comrades, then you wouldn't be in that predicament in the first place. I also don't think it's fair for for him to get an honorable discharge. Anything less than a dishonorable discharge and forfeit all his pay and rank and benefits. You have guys that go to Afghanistan, Iraq multiple times that serve this country honorably. They don't desert. They do their job. They come home, and you know these guys are battling PTSD, maybe missing a limb, have a Purple Heart. Say they have a few drinks one night, make a mistake. They don't get an honorable discharge. So how is it fair to them that served this country honorably and didn't desert their fellow Americans in combat to come home, not get an honorable discharge, but he deserts, misconduct before the enemy, and then now he's supposed to get an honorable discharge?
It's just one of the possibilities that was raised by the New York Times. It's not likely, according to the military experts we've spoken with. Josh, I want to give you the last word. I know you say when you heard that the charges were being brought, you felt relief. Were you worried that there would be pressure not to charge him?
The truth has been out there the entire time. We've been telling everybody that wants to listen what the truth is, from shortly after Bergdahl disappeared to the initial Army investigation to when he was traded back last year. Everybody that was around him knew what the truth was, and it's just relieved that the United States Army did the right thing in charging Bergdahl with desertion and misconduct in front of the Army.
Cody, Josh, Evan, thank you all for your service, and thank you for being back with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us,
guys.